Are you guys ready for a new metal detecting video? Well, today that is what I am bringing you. Metal detecting plus story time. I came up with this idea to do the story as I'm metal detecting, just so you don't have to keep hearing that because it gets a little boring. But I will be reading a story over everything that I'm doing. So I hope you guys enjoy this story and my metal detecting. Hey there, and welcome to my channel. My name is Brittany and I'm so happy to have you here. On my channel, you're going to see vlogs about my family, thrift with me, I love thrifting. You're even going to see metal detecting, which has become a new favorite, and browse with me, because who doesn't enjoy looking at the store? Anyways, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. The story I'm about to tell you is one I grew up listening to. My grandmother used to tell it to me as a little girl, and now I want to share it with you guys. I will tell you, I have researched the story, and the story my grandmother tells is slightly different from what I've been able to find. But here we go. Let's dive in. Grady Hill is located between Manny and Hawaii, Louisiana. And the story goes a little something like this. There was a lady who was working in the fields, and she ended up passing out, probably from heat stroke. And everybody assumed that she was dead. So what they would do is perform the funerals really quickly, because it was so hot and the bodies would begin to stink and decay really quickly with the summers in Louisiana. So they decided they were going to bury her quickly. Before they buried her, they had to do the showing of the body, and so they would dress the dead up, and they would put their nice jewels on them and have them looking nice, and everybody would come and view the bodies. Well, there just so happened to be some travelers passing through, and they saw the funeral, and they thought, there's no harm in walking up, paying our respects to the dead, getting some food, and that way they could check out her jewels. So anyways, they ended up going up, looking at her, and she did have some really nice jewels on. So their plan was, later after she was buried, they would come back, dig her up, and keep her stuff, bury her, and move on. So later that night, they came back, the travelers, and they dug up her casket, and when they opened it, she was gasping for air. She was still alive. Anyways, clearly they ran off because they were terrified, because they thought she was just raised from the dead, but they believed that it was just heat stroke, and anyways, she came back from it. So she goes back to her home, and everybody was freaking out because they thought she was a ghost, and she ended up losing her entire family over it. Everybody shunned her. Nobody wanted to know her. Apparently, she even had a child, and the child was taken away from her. So the legend goes that you can still go to Grady Hill, and if you park at the cemetery where she was buried, you can still hear her crying. Apparently, she's crying because she's lonely and sad, and her child was taken from her, and her husband left her. Now, is this story true? I don't know. Do I believe what I was told as a little girl? Kind of. Kind of. Even I remember my grandmother would take us to the cemetery, and apparently if you go, your car won't start and stuff like that. So I remember going to the cemetery with my grandmother, and she would turn the car off and it mysteriously wouldn't crank again, and then we would hear noises and the windows would fog up, and it was always this crazy thing, and me and my cousins would be terrified because the crying woman from Grady Hill was coming to get us. So Hawaii and Manny are home to a lot of Native Americans, and so there is one side of the legend that says that the mother was a Native American lady who ended up having her baby stolen from her and murdered and thrown under a bridge, and that's why she's haunting the roads and the bridges, because she's looking for her lost child. There's another version that says that the lady at Grady Hill is looking for her husband, who took her child and murdered the baby, which I couldn't find the full story to that one, so I don't know why he did that, or was he crazy? I don't know, but that was one story that I was able to find. And one other version I found, and I think I found this one on Facebook, like somebody had written the story that's from the town, and she said that her great-grandmother used to tell her this story, and ultimately it was a Native American woman, and she had her child abducted in the middle of like a battle, and they took her child, like whoever they were fighting took her child, and she never found her child again. So she ended up dying of a broken heart, and she walks around the town looking for her lost child. If you have ever heard the story of Grady Hill, or maybe you've even been to Grady Hill, please let me know in the comments. I would love to know your experience there. Again, I was just a kid, and I do know that it got super foggy around the car, in the car. It was obviously dark and late, and we thought we saw something, but again, I think it was just all of us kids like trying to hype each other up and see like, do you see what I see? Do you see the white? But yeah, we thought we saw like white floating in the air or whatever, but I don't know. Again, I was just a little kid, so I feel like I kind of just made that all up. And even my story, the way that I remember it, might not even be exactly how my grandmother tells it, because I asked her, do you remember you used to tell us the story of the woman at Grady Hill, and you would take us out there at night? And she said she did remember, but she didn't remember telling it the way that I remember. So that's just one of those things with memory. But that is a really interesting story with lots of different versions, so it's fun to kind of like research and find out about these type of stories. So if you have a story, or like an interesting story, or something that I could do on my next metal detecting video, please let me know down in the comments. I again would love to look up more stories and read you some interesting stories, or research some things, or even if you have a topic and you're like, this would be a good one for your metal detecting videos, let me know so I can go check it out. And yep, okay, so back to metal detecting. Be sure to stick around to the end so that you can see my wrap up. All right, guys, it is time for sorry, my baby is playing right beside me, but it is time for the wrap up. All right, trash. This, I'm not really sure what this is. If you know what this is, comment down below and let me know. I'd love to know. 11 cents, beads, glass, which obviously the metal detector didn't pick up these things, but I stopped for them. And a vape. Tropical Rainbow Blast. So there you go. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks again for watching, and if you enjoyed this, be sure to give it a thumbs up.